Here we're going to look at topic 63, example 4, where we identify where a function increases or decreases. So the question or questions, for what values of x is g of x equal to 2 minus the absolute value of x increasing, and for what values is it decreasing? So first thing we need to do is we would need to graph this. All right, it's easiest to determine increases and decreases when you have the graph. You can use graphing software, right? Desmos, graphing calculators, or you can create a table by hand. We're going to do the table, or I'm going to do the table really quickly. But these x values, all I'm looking to do is I'm plugging in right there. So those x values go in up here, and then we would determine what y would be. All right, so I'm just going to write the numbers out, but that's the method behind it. If I plug in -3, the absolute value of -3 would be 3. 2 minus 3 is -1. All right, and the rest of the form, that would be 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, and -1. Now again, I took this number here, this 3, I plugged it in as 2 minus the absolute value of 3, so that would be 2 minus 3, and that would be -1. So this work here comes from up here, all right, in case you have any questions on that. But that's not the main idea. What we're doing here, we're really looking for the increasing and decreasing. We just need those numbers. So then to graph this, I would plot my points. I'd have -3, -1. Actually, I'm going to write this in, do this in black, because I'm going to need the blue and the red for increasing, decreasing. So -3, -1, -2, 0, -1, 1, 0, 2. And then we change directions. We go back here to 1, 2, 0, and 3, -1. So our graph looks something like this. Let's make those arrows so we know it goes on forever, which will be part of our increasing and decreasing. Okay, so now we can actually get to the problem, or the questions. So for what values of x, when is it increasing and when is it decreasing? So increasing, what we're looking for here is it goes up from left to right. All right, now what does that mean? We look at our graph, and is it going up? Well, part of it is. Decreasing would be going down from left to right. All right, think of it how you would read, and just ask yourself, is the graph going up? Are my y values increasing? Or is it going down? Are my y values decreasing? So if I look at this first part of the graph here, right, this left side, well, if I look at the y values from the left to the, this kind of point where it changes direction, my y values go from -2 to -1, 0 to 1 to 2. So they're going up. All right, the graph is increasing. Okay, it's going up. So the graph is increasing on what interval? Well, we're going to use interval notation, and we're going to need a minimum and a maximum. This graph goes forever down to that left side, right? So this graph would keep continuing way down here. So that lowest number, now when we're doing interval notation, remember we're looking at x values. So the lowest number would be -infinity, and we know to always use a parenthesis with that. And it increases until we get to this point right here. There's going to be a turning point. That turning point, now be very careful. The coordinate point is 0, 2. That's where it's going to change directions. But when we're talking interval notation, we want the x value. So we're looking at this point here. All right, what is the x value at that point? Well, that's going to be 0. All right, my x value is 0. At that point, this orange highlighted point, is my graph increasing? Is it decreasing? Well, that's where it's changing direction. So that 0 is not included as part of the increasing. It's just our boundary. So we're going to put a parenthesis. Now for decreasing, we're doing the same thing, kind of the same methodology, but this time we're looking for obviously decreasing. So the graph is going down here. right? Left to right, it is decreasing. It's going down. So we want to look at the same thing. What are the maximum and minimum values or minimum and maximum values for our interval notation? That same point where we stopped increasing, we started decreasing. It's that x value. Sorry about that. It's the x value of 0. What's going on here? So x value of 0. Remember, it changes direction, so we're going to use a parenthesis. And then this is going to keep going. My x values are going to continue forever to the right. So that is going to be positive infinity, which will always have a bracket. And then my solution would be increasing from negative infinity to 0, and it is decreasing from 0 to infinity. Quite similar to the problem above, example 3, where we're looking at positive and negative intervals, where they were above and below the x-axis. Determining increasing and decreasing is pretty straightforward once you have the graph. Now, there is the case where you might have graphs that change direction a couple times. You might have graphs that kind of curve this way, but you'll be able to determine looking at the graph and looking at specific intervals, and then make sure when you're writing the interval notation, you are using the x values. So this point 0, 2, this point up here is important. It's our turning point from when it goes from increasing to decreasing, but we're not going to actually use that value of 2 when we're using our interval notation, because we only care about the x value, right? That's 0. So do be aware of that. Do be careful. And as long as you take your time with these and kind of look them over pretty closely, you will be okay.